This is so insanely pretty. Oh, Jesus! You are so much bigger than I even understand. Over the course of my time in the UK and within the following video, I will be exploring the topic of conflict transformation approaches on a macro and meso scale. Throughout history, there have been large feats of reconciliation between people groups using a variety of mediums. Through research, I found that during the Mozambique Civil War, churches kept much of the peace as they drew on international religious networks of social services for economic resources and maintaining the peace zones. In Rwanda, an ancient process of settling conflict was reinstated called abunzi, which promotes trust and understanding within local communities. In my time abroad, I took a closer look at the conflict transformation processes used in Scotland and Ireland, such as dance, original language, filming people's stories, the list goes on. According to Daniel Philpott in his book, Strategies on Peace, activities that constitute peace building run the gamut of conflict transformation, including violence prevention and early warning, conflict management, mediation and resolution, social reconstruction and healing in the aftermath of armed conflict, and the long, complex work of reconciliation throughout the process.
Peace building is the same whether it's between different kind of denominations of Christians or between completely different religions or between different groups of people of any kind. It's simply a question of getting to know each other.
And what does strategic peace building mean to you?
It means recognizing that there's a need and working towards building it.
Moving into answering my question on conflict transformation approaches, I have determined 3 broad categories. The first 2 are on a meso scale. The first is the power of honest conversation, such as what the group experienced on the Isle of Iona, when the ex-paramilitary man shared his story at EBM, or the conversations that the Corymela Center facilitated. The second meso approach is using cultural tradition for conflict transformation, such as with historical language, dances, and food. These things create a level playing field between the Protestants and the Catholics. My third category is centered around a macro approach of large institutional efforts such as ecumenical services that incorporate all faiths across the board, government to government or government to organized people group conversations towards peace, and the all-inclusive voting process.
Hello, I'm Walter McBride and I live on the Shankle Road in West Belfast. I've been asked by Jessica to do a short interview, so I've said yes.
Yeah, so I asked him about peace building attempts he's seen between Protestant and Catholics, whether it's an educational setting, community, church, government.
Well, we run a men's group on our only centre. Approximately 30 to 40 men from all different walks of life, most of them non-Christian. We have had speakers in from the Republican side, from the official IRA, and from the provisional IRA, who are no longer combatants, who no longer follow that way of life, but have spoke on their personal walks, not from a Christian point of view, just spoke about what it's like being from a Catholic side, what we have in common. And our group have been asked questions and answer sessions after, and there's been a whole lot of positives where one individual from the Republican side in West Belfast came back and there's been bridge building from that capacity. They've also put in my oversight, are trying to put in for funding to get across community group a way to talk about things, issues concerning the conflict we had here in Northern Ireland over the last 45 years.
here who play flutes and drums, they have actually been to Letterkenny on stage playing their type of culture there, and vice versa. We've had a return trip down. These are things that have never happened before here, you know. So any medium that can be used, we use it. If we can see an intake, it's been very difficult lately because you have your flag protests going on here, your protests around raiding, you've got heavy dissident Republican activity, so it's becoming very difficult to keep that. But the way we view what happens here in Northern Ireland is you go into dips, but you always come out of a dip. So when you go into the dip, you need to keep your context and keep doing as much as you can, because you'll come out of that dip.
And again, I mean, it's that thing about, you know, just grabbing the I don't know, the knowledge that young people, that this conflict has buried, and the skills that this conflict has buried in people, and actually putting them out there and saying, here's something you can do, you know. And I mean, again, you know, just one of the initiatives that we've had here, again, of getting people together to recognise the cost of the past and the trauma.
Football. On a football thing, which is mostly a man's sport, where I'm from, there is a football league in West Belfast where Protestants and Catholics, their teams play each other, which wouldn't have been heard of 10 years ago. So there's movement there. There is cross-community building from all different spectrums, whether it's in East Belfast, North, South or West. There is groups doing stuff. Us as Army drop in, and me, it's very limited because I live in a 101% Protestant area. It's hard for Catholic people to come in, but they do come in.
Cool.
And nobody's exempt from our drop-in centre. Nobody.
Cool. And do you see the arts at all being employed? I've seen a lot of murals just driving around today.
Well, Jessica, I don't know if you've been here before, but
I haven't.
Maybe 10 years ago there have been twice as much murals, loyalist and maybe Republican, is what there is now. But due to a lot of dialogue, they've took some of the paramilitary murals down and put ones that are probably in people's eyes less offensive. So there is more of them murals being put up now, so there is a change. People are willing to change, where it's loyalists, where it's unionists, where it's Protestants, through their culture of murals, or why I think Republican, Nationalist and Catholic, there are also some murals being taken down. But I think it's only for a good thing, my personal view.
So it's more, they're talking about it and taking them down than putting up murals like, let's all be loving to one another.
Yes, different things. Maybe over here in East Belfast, well known for Harlem Woof, the big cranes. So there's been like a mural put up, and really so, because a lot of workers lived around these streets in East Belfast. And I'm not an East Belfast man, but respect to them. That was one of their big industries. So why not have a mural like that? So.
There are, in our area, there are ecumenical services from time to time. So about, maybe 15 years ago now, they decided to have the first service in Elgin Cathedral for something like 400 years. And it was an ecumenical service, and all the local denominations of Christians were represented, and members of their congregations were invited to take part. There was an orchestra made up of different young musicians from different churches. There was a choir made up of different singers from different churches, and it was a very special occasion.
So when you were there, did you see the government trying to do anything to build peace between races?
What shall I say? A reconciliation thing going where people came and they asked for forgiveness for what they had committed, etc., etc. They had them go, these commissions going all over South Africa. And I didn't actually do any of the work at the commissions, but when they had these big meetings, they would have to have a first aider there because, there was hysterics and all sorts of things going on.
Cool. Those who support or facilitate transformational processes therefore need to think about how to create multiple forums for addressing identity. Too often we think of the transaction as a one-time event that deals with identity and then is over. Instead, it is better to see process as a platform that permits ongoing learning about self and other, while at the same time pursuing decisions about particular issues that symbolize the deeper negotiations surrounding identity. From course reading and the study abroad experience, I now understand that the best approach to conflict transformation is on the messo level, as peace is not created for people, but with people. Conflict transformation doesn't have a single cure-all remedy. It demands many different platforms to reach the many sectors of people involved. For example, Tom uses media and recording people's stories as a form of therapy, as he gives voice to the marginalized. EBM's approach is extremely interesting, as they have many sustainable models, such as the resale shops, cafes, and hostels that bring diversified people together for conversation and eventually ending in peace. Through these programs, people go through a process of continued reconciliation with one another. There is no one resolution, but transformation, which takes time, and as we've learned in Ireland, perhaps more than 7 generations. As I was given the opportunity to also study abroad in Rwanda and learn about peace and reconciliation in the context of the '94 genocide, this further enhanced my belief that conflict transformation is done on a messo scale. People no longer identify as Hutu or Tutsi, they all identify as Rwandans, and they are proud to be an entrepreneurial country, and they are proud in their heritage. My experiences on the Celtic May term have allowed me to understand that reconciliation and conflict transformation best happen on a messo scale, where people are understood, relationships are built, and peace comes with the healing of time. As we learned during the May term, much of this can be facilitated through intergroup dialogue, which is face-to-face conversation between members of 2 or more social identity groups that strives to create new levels of understanding, relating, and action. The studying of peace and reconciliation, specifically conflict transformation approaches, applies to my greater worldview in that things get done on a messo scale that cannot be done anywhere else. Messo includes middle-level organizations, communities, and simply people talking and working with people face-to-face. I believe that one person can truly make a difference in normal conversations and interactions they have with people on the day-to-day basis.
Hey, buddy!
Wait, Alex, say it.
We're going to see some puffins today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Who's a little puffin?
Well,
Hey! La 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 la.
we're like going sledding with all our stuff up.
I know, actually, yes. The quick snapshot of our community during the Celtic May term is a great segue into speaking about who I am based on whose I am. In a large group setting, I may come off as simply carefree or joyful, but I have much more to say than what is seen on the surface level. I believe that I came from a divine creator, to love through the brokenness of our world. I believe sin is what's wrong with the world, and we need something bigger than ourselves to get rid of it. If anything is going to change, it will be by God and the Holy Spirit within us. When we accept the relationship that Christ has to offer, we are restored back to God's original intent for our lives, to be in communion with Him. As a Christian within a community, I try to act in according to the character of Christ. Conversations about who I am or whose I am have and will come from this different behavior. I am to explain my beliefs to others while respecting theirs. My purpose on earth is to serve the one who gave me life in the first place, as well as make disciples. Living in a way that pleases Jesus Christ is my motivation, and I realize that the decisions I make reflect what I believe to those around me. When friends take time to encourage me, many times they point out that I am joyful or a good listener. I believe these are gifts that God has given me to be a safe place for the vulnerable, the broken, or just the worn out. Through the course of this trip, I was able to have many spontaneous and real conversations, such as with a man that used to be a Christian and now is an atheist, or a fellow student that was sexually assaulted during this past year. When it comes to peace building and conflict transformation, I believe that I will be able to use these strengths on a messo scale, face-to-face with people, throughout the rest of my life. This May term has honestly been a breath of fresh air. It has reinstated my renewable energy and earth-keeping mission with my current waste-to-energy startup, Glad Globe. It has taught me the techniques and importance of intergroup dialogue, which I will be able to take into both personal and professional settings in the future. It has exposed me to multiple conflict transformation approaches, all with the intent of finding a non-biased middle ground goal or activity for both sides of the argument to participate in together. I believe my role as an ally for justice is to continue doing my part as an earth keeper in bringing the good word to whatever situation I am in. I will also not stand for the degradation of women in small daily comments.
This is Puff Puff, Jane and Jess, signing off. Gangsters. Oh man. Thanks, Jane.
Okay.
You rock.